We begin in Argentina, where violent clashes between protesters and riot police have erupted in the capital, Buenos Aires, as the Senate approved President Javier Milei's controversial economic reform package. Protesters who gathered outside Congress's premises clashed with police, who fired tear gas and water cannons to disperse the gathering. The demonstrators threw petrol bombs and stones, setting cars alight. A number of people were reportedly injured, with local media describing the scene as a battlefield. The reforms aimed at reviving the country's fledgling economy include declaring a state of emergency on the economy, cutting pensions, and watering down labor riots. Leftist political parties, labor unions, and social organizations oppose what they call Mr. Milei's shock measures, arguing they will hurt millions of Argentines. Let's take a look at how President Milei and his economic reforms have impacted on the nation. It's 6 months into the presidency of Javier Milei, following his inauguration on December 10, 2023, in the Argentine Chamber of Deputies in Buenos Aires. Mr. Milei had indicated early on his presidency that Argentina required drastic changes, so he set to work, devaluing the peso by 50%, slashing state subsidies for fuel, and cutting the number of government ministries by half. The quick reduction in public spending helped the country swing from a fiscal deficit, the difference between the government spending and income of 2 trillion pesos in December last year, to a surplus of 264 billion pesos by April. Argentina also reported a surplus in January, February, and March, marking the first time it had achieved this monthly target since 2012. Inflation has slowed in Argentina. Back in April, the month-on-month rate fell to 8.8%, the first time since October that it was not in double figures. This inflation measure is closely followed in countries like Argentina that have long had high inflation. Mr. Milei's pledge of replacing the peso with the US dollar and abolishing the central bank have taken a back seat recently. However, the president's freedom advances do not command a majority in the Argentine Congress, and it has found it hard to strike cross-party deals. Milei wants Congress to grant him the power to privatize more than 24 state-owned companies, including the state airline, the railways, the postal service, and the national water supplier. His initial omnibus bill, containing the privatization plans and hundreds of other economic measures, failed to pass a second reading in February. A streamlined version resubmitted to Congress in April cleared the lower house, but has yet to be approved by the Senate. The president also faces strong opposition from trade unions, who have taken to the streets in protest, say the workers' rights will suffer from the wholesale deregulation of the economy. Coming to Europe now, it was a breath of fresh air for a French banking consultant who arrived home in Paris after spending 2 years in detention in Iran. 30-year-old Louis Arnault was arrested in September 2022 at a time where waves of protests swept across Iran. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison in 2023. He was accused of participating in anti-government protests and contributing to anti-government propaganda. French President Emmanuel Macron thanked Oman for helping to secure freedom of Mr. Arnault. He also urged Iran to release 3 remaining French prisoners in detention. According to officials, Arnault was held at the notorious Evin prison in the capital Tehran, which has long been criticized by rights groups. Human Rights Watch has accused authorities at the prison of using threats to torture and of indefinite imprisonment, as well as lengthy interrogations and denial of medical care for detainees. At least 40 Indians are among 59 people killed in a fire at a residential building in Mangaf, Kuwait. A fire broke out Wednesday in a building where dozens of workers stayed. Indian authorities say many of the victims are from Kerala and Tamil Nadu in southern India. About 50 other Indians were injured, along with Filipino and Nepali workers. Two-thirds of the Kuwaiti population is made up of foreign workers. The country is highly dependent on migrant labor, especially in construction and domestic sectors. Although dozens were rescued, smoke inhalation was the undoing of many who died in the building that housed at least 196 workers. Human rights groups have regularly raised concerns over their living conditions. Police say they often issued warnings about overcrowding in this type of accommodation. Over in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where at least 80 people have died, where a boat that they were traveling in sank, President Felix Tshisekedi has announced the disaster, calling an investigation into the true cause of the unfortunate incident. The accident on Wednesday occurred at the Kwa River, about 70 kilometers from the city of Mushi in Mai Ndombe province. Deadly boat accidents are common in the DRC, where vessels are frequently loaded well beyond their capacity. The Central African country has few tarred roads across its vast forested territory, and river travel is common. The European Court of Justice has fined Hungary €200 million and imposed a daily €1 million penalty for failing to follow the bloc's asylum laws and illegally deporting migrants. Budapest has slammed the decision as unacceptable. The court imposed the ban because it says Hungary is deliberately evading compliance with the European Union laws. Despite a 2020 ruling, it must uphold international procedures for asylum seekers. Prime Minister Viktor Orban opposes allowing asylum seekers into Hungary, despite EU and international law requiring it to follow norms on individually weighing requests for protection. Like Poland and the Czech Republic, Hungary has already been condemned by the EU courts for refusing to accept a quota of refugees decided under the bloc's program launched in 2015. The court says Budapest has continued to restrict migrants' access to formally asking for asylum and not uphold their right to stay in Hungary while their applications are processed. Let's check in on the weather in the United States. Wednesday turned out a very rainy day in the city of Miami, Florida, as dozens of drivers were seen stranded on flooded roads. There they are. Heavy rains caused flooding in parts of South Florida, particularly the region between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. The National Weather Service had earlier described the situation as life-threatening. Vehicles tried navigating flooded roads, tow trucks moved stranded cars, and some vehicles submerged in car parks. Pedestrians made their way through flooded streets as the heavy rain continued. Governor Ron DeSantis declared a state of emergency on Wednesday night. The storms are said to be part of a stalled system that has hit Florida and dumped a month's worth of rain in a single day. More rain is forecast for the rest of the week. Away from the weather, members of the Marines from the Philippines and the United States have begun their annual military drills in Taguig, aiming to bolster their long-standing allyship. Soldiers perform various exercises, including rescue operation drill, where a wounded comrade received a simulated blood transfusion. Philippine Marine demonstrated martial arts techniques using swords, while U.S. soldiers engaged in combat exercises with bamboo sticks. U.S. Army Lieutenant Commander Katie Cole emphasized the importance of these joint exercises, while Philippine Marines Colonel Grace Marie Garcia noted the broad benefit of the drills.
This would be like if we're in a combat situation where we're far away from some sort of advanced medical care, then we would want to do that here just to help keep that patient alive until we can get them there. Usually the reason we would do that is if we expect that we're going to be taking care of that patient out in the field for a long time. If we're going to continue to be allies, which I expect for a long time, then it's critical that we can work together and that we're all on the same page as a team and we understand exactly how we want to do things so that when we're together in a field situation, we know exactly what to do with each other.
While these activities will undoubtedly enhance or improve our preparation or preparedness for any eventualities or scenario, it is not actually specifically directed to any particular conflict.
Turning the spotlight now on the largest prison in the Americas, El Salvador's Terrorism Confinement Center, CECOT for short, it received an additional 2,000 suspected gang members transferred from various prisons across the country. President Nayib Bukele made the announcement via a post on social media on Wednesday, emphasizing the facility's role in isolating criminals, saying, they will pay for the crimes committed against our people, cut off from the outside without the possibility of leaving or ordering crimes from prison. President Bukele has previously described CECOT as the largest prison in the Americas, with the capacity to hold over 40,000 suspected gang members. As of now, media reports indicate that approximately 14,500 gang members are already imprisoned in CECOT. El Salvador currently has the highest incarceration rate in the world. Despite this, the country has seen a significant drop in homicides, with rates falling nearly 70% in 2023. However, the government's measures have drawn criticism from human rights organizations who've condemned the relaxation of rules regarding warrants and due process under the state of emergency. The government defends these actions as necessary to combating gang violence effectively. Here on the continent, Commander of the Malawi Defense Forces, the MDF, Paul Valentino Fidi, says troops faced bad weather conditions during search for the ill-fated plane of Vice President Solos Chilima. The soldiers poured through a fog-cloaked forest south of Mzuzu after authorities located the last tower it transmitted to before the plane disappeared. He adds that the location of the search is not inhabited. Therefore, troops used helicopters and UAVs to attempt finding the missing aircraft. The plane was eventually found crashed near a hill in the Chikangawa forest.
Challenges during the search that are obtaining include the terrain itself, which is very rugged and also thick, because this is a part which is not inhabited. Secondly, this morning, there was also bad weather conditions. The area has been foggy, and thus visibility was reduced. Our troops were on the ground throughout the night, and despite these challenges, they are soldiering on so that they can be able to locate the aircraft. The assets that have been pledged for the search are in the form of aircraft, that is both fixed wing and rotor wing, which are helicopters, and also other imagery gadgets like UAVs, or I can mention that they are in the form of drones. The coordination is being done solely by Malawi Defense Force. And we want to encourage that all those that would want to gain or obtain information should actually contact MDF. MDF in this regard has coordinating points at the MDF headquarters, at Lilongwe Air Force Base, and at Kamuzu International Airport.
Crossing over to South Africa, now politics still dominates headlines. The leader of the Inkatha Freedom Party says his party has agreed to form part of a government of national unity that includes the African National Congress and the biggest opposition party, the Democratic Alliance. Velenkosini Hlabisa told reporters at a media briefing in Durban that the only options were to become part of the government or part of the opposition. South Africans are waiting to know who would form the next government after the ANC lost its majority in last month's election. As a first official indication that a government of national unity has been agreed, although the DA and the ANC have not yet commenced. Our correspondent in South Africa, Innocent Somoso, spoke to Layo Olarinde about the latest.
regardless of the hurdles, from the MK party going to the electoral court, going to the constitutional court recently, Parliament is forging ahead with, this particular sitting. We do know that it will indeed be presided by Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. You would remember that he took time to actually respond to these political parties as they requested him to come and preside over this election. We do know that there's going to be an election of the president and election of the Speaker of Parliament. As it stands, we're not going to know tomorrow the cabinet of the country. This could very well be that tomorrow is just these two elections of the president and the Speaker of Parliament. So the portfolios, the Department of Health, the Department of International Relations, Department of Trade, and so on, it will come at a later stage. So this time around, we're electing a president, but it does seem as though it's all system go. In fact, the Secretary General of Parliament briefed the media in Cape Town earlier today, just giving details as to the preparedness of this sitting. It does seem as though they're forging ahead, regardless of the court cases that were filed by MK party led by former President Jacob Zuma. It seems as though the court does not want to entertain it. Again, they struck off the roll. The electoral court has removed it. So now they're trying the constitutional court. They're arguing that because they've got a lot of seats, they've got about 69 seats in parliament. That's a huge number. They feel that if they're not represented in parliament, so it would nullify the sitting because a majority, part of people who are elected by South Africans are forming part of that election in Parliament. So they feel that it's not going to be legitimate. But the court said, look, we're moving ahead regardless of what you're saying. We're taking what the Electoral Court has said. But now they've went to the Constitutional Court. In fact, they gave the Electoral Court, they gave IEC up until Sunday last week to respond to their grievances.
Still ahead on The World Today. Now it's one thing to dive to the bottom of the sea, might be a hobby of yours. It's another to paint underwater. That's nothing to this Crimean artist. He does both. We'll find out after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to The World Today. The World Health Organization is calling on the world's media to continue drawing attention to Sudan and not allow our world to forget it. According to WHO chief, the organization is on the ground supporting life-saving interventions and outbreak response, overseeing health operations and management of malnutrition. He adds that Sudan is the world's largest humanitarian crisis, with 12 million people displaced, 10 million internally, while 2 million have fled to neighboring countries.
The world's largest humanitarian crisis, with 12 million people displaced, 10 million internally, while 2 million have fled to neighboring countries. More than 70% of hospitals in conflict-affected states and 45% of health facilities in another 5 states are not working. And the remaining ones are overwhelmed with people seeking care. People are dying from a lack of access to essential services and medicines, while there is a very real risk of mass starvation in some regions. As the situation in Sudan continues to decline, WHO is on the ground supporting life-saving interventions and outbreak response. We provide expert advice, training and oversight to health operations, management of malnutrition, disease surveillance, and outbreak response. WHO also continues to distribute urgently needed medicines, medical supplies using all available avenues, including cross-border and cross-line operations to reach previously unreachable areas in Darfur and Kordofan, where the needs are greatest.
To more cheery news now, Nigerian Muslims have joined pilgrims from around the world to visit the historic cave of Hira, where the Prophet Muhammad is believed to have received his first revelation of the Quran. The site is now developed into a tourist attraction, and pilgrims have been taking advantage, catching a glimpse of the new look. Our correspondent Sadiq Ilyasu is there.
4 kilometers away from the Kaaba, Muslims' holiest place is Mount Hira in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. There lies a cave where it is believed that the Islamic prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, received his first revelation of the Holy Quran. It is now a historical site where pilgrims troop to take a glimpse.
This is my first time to be here at the Mount Hira, and I'm excited to be here because of the history behind the mountain which hosts the cave Hira.
The pilgrims have the opportunity to learn Islamic history by watching on screens.
So the experience today is amazing. We visit the Gua Hira. So the Hira cave, it's when the Prophet Muhammad SAW received his first wahyu. So it's such amazing experience in all Hajj experience for me. So this is a very, very meaningful journey for me.
One of the officials explains the significance of the location in Islamic history.
Okay, so Allah Ta'ala sent Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to this nation of Muhammad to remind them about the purpose of their creations. So at the time of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when in the Makkah people started worshiping idols and forgetting about the purpose of their creation, and Allah make the revelation to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, send Jibreel Alayhi Salatu Wasallam through this mountain of Hira that we are right beside. So all the people on the world trying to come here to visit the cultural center to see what happened at the time when the Arabs are confused in the fundamentals of their life religion.
This historic site continues to attract thousands of pilgrims each year, eager to connect with their faith and history. Sadiq Ilyasu, Channels Television News.
Wonder what we're looking at. We've seen all types of artists here on The World Today, but this one, pretty interesting. Imagine painting underwater. The location was Crimea's Sevastopol, hosting a unique gallery featuring paintings made underwater in the Black Sea by Crimean artist Piotr Donsenko. Footage from Donsenko's personal archive shows him diving underwater and painting while surrounded by coral reefs. The video also captures visitors examining Donsenko's works at the Glubina exhibition. We'll see that in a moment. Donsenko says he likes painting and he also likes diving, so he decided to combine the two hobbies. He also likes the effect of painting underwater. He claims he worked at depths of up to 10 meters, which explains why it took him between 20 minutes to an hour and a half to paint one canvas. Donsenko has dedicated the gallery to the Russia Day and City Day holidays. The exhibition, which will run from June 10 to June 27th, features 37 works, 9 of which had been painted underwater. Can you tell? I couldn't tell the difference, which one was painted underwater, which one was painted up here on dry land. But what do you know? It's been 7 years now since Jiang, the panda who was born in Japan, was born in Japan. Jiang now lives at the Ye'an base of the China National Research Base of the giant panda. Panda keeper at the CCRCGP, Zhao Lanlan, says Jiang returned to the Ye'an base on February 21st of last year. She met the public there, yes, she's a rave, as soon as her quarantine was finished. Jiang was born on June 12, 2017 at the Ueno Zoo in Tokyo, Japan. Her parents are Shin, female, and Riri, male, both on loan from China, which retain ownership of any cubs born to them. Jiang had many fans come to celebrate her birthday at the facility, taking photos of her and just generally celebrating her. Well, she looked like she was enjoying all of the attention. I guess it's not too late to say happy birthday, Jiang. Thanks for watching The World Today. I'm Amarachi, everybody.